Hi everyone, and welcome to our 8th episode of Surviving ISO. I'm Sacha King from 2.two.one Mental Health Charity, and today we're going to be talking about keeping our community connection and our sense of community while being isolated literally from the rest of the community. How can we do this without that physical contact? We're really lucky to be joined by Jye Cardona. He is from Jye Cardona Consulting and has a range of skills working in youth, community and cultural programs. Thanks for joining us, Jye.
Thanks for that. Good to be here.
So just to get started, can you let us know a little bit about yourself and your work?
I'm Darwin born and raised, part of a pretty big Aboriginal family up here, and I work across a fair few youth services, particularly youth detention, and I've done a fair bit of community work, so that's where my passion lies, and a lot of that is based on connection.
Awesome. I guess that leads into our first question is sort of, what does community connection mean, and why is it so important right now?
Yeah, so I guess we're all born into a community as such, whether it be our families, our broader communities, such as our physical locations, and then as we grow, we develop our own sort of subsets of communities, whether it be our friends, the schools we go to, people we engage with in sporting clubs and other affiliations. So that's really important because it's one of the main parts of being human, and the other part is connection. And in order to access a community, we need that connection, and that connection is essentially where we can find common ground, where we can learn and grow, and is also pivotal to our health and well-being. It's one of those protective factors against all your anxiety and depression and all those other things that may make you feel unsafe, and having that community connection can give you that safety.
And is it particularly important that people have community connection at the moment?
Absolutely. I think there's probably two parts to it, as we find for some of us that we find ourselves slowing down and we feel that anxiety around that, as to actually connecting in with ourselves as we have all this change. And then secondly, really sort of how can we connect in with others? So it's definitely important, particularly as we look for some stability and some common ground, and that's where the sharing and connecting in, and where in a lot of cases now that it's going to be in a non-physical sense.
That leads directly into my next question. People who used to find a lot of sense of community through physical locations like school or work or sport, what are some ways they can still get some sense of community with not having those physical locations?
Yeah, so I think, with the way that the world has been evolving, that we have learned how to connect on a technological level. And it's one of those things where I guess we take for granted sometimes, and I guess now is the perfect time to really see where that importance of it is. We're seeing some great apps come through now which seem to be really effective, such as House Party, where you can connect in with various friends or family members and play games on. I've seen sort of bingo challenges happen, exercise apps and challenges, I think, and we'll talk about it probably a bit later, but the hashtag trends where you can challenge another person, say for the push-up challenges, the C10 do 10 push-up stuff. Really seeing the group chats, which a lot of people seem to have really become important as a way of connecting in, whether you're actively involved in it or you've just got something that you can read and just keep yourself sort of updated.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. It's something that we maybe avoided a bit before, the online communities, but now they are there.
Yeah, and I think it's a lot of the times we might, there's been a lot of discussion prior to this pandemic about how social media can be detrimental, and I think now is a really good time to show the positivity of it and really focusing it in on that. And also, it also is helping a lot of us, I guess, strategize how we use social media or online platforms. How can we make this work for us the best we can?
Yeah, I think that's some really great points, and that it can be really positive, those online spaces. I do have a question though about people who maybe don't have access to the internet, or they don't really want to be using the internet after having a whole day of screen time. Is there some ways that people can still connect with community without using online platforms?
Yeah, there definitely is. And I think it goes back to also taking time for yourself to just assess what your needs are, how you're feeling, really accepting, I guess, your own emotions and how you interact with others. But I think it's a great time to connect in with those in your household. If there's younger siblings or younger people, you can do things such as at-home news bulletins with yourselves. You can interview. I've seen. You can have youth interviewing parents. If you can get footballs and utilize the backyard a bit more, and you can play football, golf, things like that. Chipping away. Plants have been a big thing to connect in with by buying plants and growing them, and having different people in your household look after them on certain days. We've also seen in some of the neighbourhoods where they're quite connected, you can do suburban bingo, where you sort of you can walk and different people will put something in a window or a letterbox or things like that. So but that's where it's already sort of connected with. I think the big bit is also replacing that physical touch or playing games or sport where you sort of may not be able to do anymore. So I guess there's been a lot of sharing of different resources of things, so such as someone has a weighted blanket, sharing that across to a friend or something else. We've seen connecting with community by there's actually been more foster pet adoptions, particularly in Darwin, that I've heard. So there's it's a good opportunity to foster pet, and that's why you can connect in through that way.
So I really like those ideas, and I really especially like that idea of having your household as a community. Like, how can my family or my household or my pets be a part of my connection to community? I think those were a few ideas of like things to do. Is there some strategies in how we could do them within ourselves as well?
Yeah, so as we kind of touched on before, replacing the physical aspect is a big one, particularly when we're used to hugging our elderly or our parents or other people, family members and loved ones. One of the biggies that seem to be really, really good is getting weighted blankets. They've always been really good for sort of anxiety and helping with sleep and things like that. So we're finding those to be great. Also, when we talk about looking into ourselves and having that time for ourselves, buying foam rollers and massage balls and things like that, where you can sort of just take time to have a bit of a roll, sort of, roll out tension or pressure points. You don't need to be skilled or know exactly what to do or how to do, but they're great things just to ease that anxiety and that tension that we physically hold in our body. I'm a big advocate for looking at the physical signs of stress, and we all can kind of feel some of that through these times. So the foam rolling's a huge one. The weighted blanket, pets are, of course, as we mentioned before, are great because you can pet them and sort of give them a hug as well. So those are a few different things. Getting into the physicality of things, I guess, has been in the backyard, kind of doing some of that gardening and the bits and pieces, particularly for youth who are at home, helping the parents or the caregivers out with mowing the lawn and these different bits and pieces, but doing it together. That seems to be the really big piece. Even for we're hearing about parents who potentially have youth that I guess at home as well, and you're working, is that you can still do bits and pieces together throughout the day, such as having those rosters and that structure, as well as cleaning rosters, or even if it is to watch something or wait till a certain time and we can watch something together, or we can do a bit of artwork together, or any of those bits and pieces.
Yeah, so not only like that wider community connection, but just like having stronger connections within your family and the people around you in your household. What about for people who are feeling just really down or really isolated right now? Is there some things that they can connect into that won't be like joining a group or reaching out to my family or knocking on my neighbour's door? Is there a way we can do this so that doesn't feel so sort of outgoing, and it could be a bit more approachable for some people?
Yeah, so I guess with that is, if you're not wanting to reach out, or you just don't know how to, where do you find the information? And that seems to be one of the biggies. Finding that following a few of the hashtag trends is a really good way to see what else is happening in the community. Might be like-minded people. We are all in this together, so essentially when we talk community, we're talking the globe right now. Some of the hashtags, just on top of my head, I think were stop the spread, hashtag stop the spread, flattening the curve, what was the other one? I think it was stay at home. Another one was at home I'm safe. And another one I think was all in this together. So I've found that even just searching those hashtags on Instagram, Facebook, even at Google, you can find a really wide variety of stories that you can potentially connect into, that may resonate with you, and give you a bit of a sense of purpose, because I guess for a lot of this, sitting still as such, well, being at home is actually impactful. So really understanding just by being at home is actually quite impactful. I do want to make mention for those where home potentially isn't the best place to be. It's also a great way to just see that the struggles that other people may have, or ways they work through it, strategies that they may have as well. And the same for parents who may notice that their youth might be struggling at home. Some of those hashtags can actually bring up some really good articles, particularly if you just Google them. COVID stress, hashtag COVID stress is another good one.
Yeah, I think that's a really valid point, is that a sense of connection doesn't always mean just around me, but also maybe someone in a similar circumstance to me, or someone I can learn from, or someone I can feel like they understand me even though I've never met them before.
Yeah, and I find another thing is, where we look at where we're at, and I'm in Darwin at the moment, ways of connecting is looking at the things that make where you live beautiful. So and we've got such a vast and varied, I guess, environment in the NT, but in Darwin, it's having a look at the beautiful things such as sunsets can actually make you feel like you are connected in, because a lot of other people are looking at those very same sunsets. Found that to be quite powerful as well. In addition to like those sunsets and things like that, it's really looking at the things that make the living in the NT really unique, and whether you be out in community or one of our larger centres, Darwin, Catherine or Alice, there's all these things that we can go for walks and see, and just be connected to. The sunsets up here are a good example, but all the beautiful rivers and I guess landscapes that may just be close to you, walking distance, definitely going for those walks and just connecting into them. I've definitely found for walks that I've had that, maintaining the social distancing's easy enough, but saying hello to other people in your community has been a big one, which I haven't seen until I started taking walks just recently. So that's great. The other thing is, we've got great fishing up here, so you can do it within the restrictions with going fishing with others and seeing others about. It's just a nice feeling, whether you're doing it by yourself, whether you're taking some family members or a friend. Like, that's a really big one. Just it's trying to maintain as much as a connection with your broader surroundings, I guess.
Yeah, so like that's like what do you love about the NT and still trying to create that happening for you?
And it forms that sense of identity, because I guess for a lot of people, when we've had the restrictions and things happen, we've lost parts of things that we could usually do, so we lose a part of our identity. And I guess that's where that connection comes back in, because we've broken a lot of those connections. We lose a bit of that identity, but we can then connect into other parts, which is our physical environment, such as our natural environments as well. So that's another part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And what are some other ways that we could maybe feel connected to community in the way of like giving back and being a part of the holistic NT or Darwin?
Yeah, so working in the youth sector, we've seen a few organisations look to make care packages and food packs and give to youth and families around the Darwin and Palmerston regions. It's definitely something you can give back to, is providing ideas, or maybe even providing food or different items of need or care. Could be more toothpaste or cleaning, hygiene type stuff. It's a great opportunity to start giving back in those ways. It's not to negate what was happening before this in that space, but it's actually a great time to collaborate as a community. A good starting point is having a look via social media at a few of the local NGOs, and also the city councils is usually good. They're all monitored, those social media accounts, so you can always just send off an email or a message to those accounts and just say, hey, how can I help? How can we collaborate? Is there something I can do? If you find that you've got a bit more time on your hands, you can even assist in some of that preparation as well. It's hugely impactful, and we're seeing more organisations begin to work in this way. So us as a community, essentially it's a good opportunity for us to give back even more than we have previously.
Yeah, and I think that sense of like gratitude for helping someone else, and sense of purpose you get from doing something or volunteering or giving something to someone else, and is really good just for your self-worth as well.
Yeah, and it's a great sense of unity, and that's particularly in the Darwin and Palmerston region. That's something that's been really positive to come out of this, is to see people working in together, unless it's stealing toilet paper off each other a few weeks ago. But outside of that, people want to know how they can help. And because we're realizing even more so now how interconnected we all are.
Yeah, yep, we are one community, and we, like, the NT is unique, and we are friendly, and we do help each other out, and we need to show that more now than ever.
Yeah, absolutely. And up here as well, we're a big sporting town despite the heat, and there's a lot of connection in collaboration with that, and even helping out sporting clubs, or even seeing some of the online work that some of these sporting clubs or organisations are doing is really impactful as well. And I guess that's something that I've forgotten to mention before, is that you can support some of your local sporting or rec providers by watching some of their online material. So I know there's a few organizations that are and consultants who are posting sort of virtual workouts and drills and things like that, and it's definitely beneficial to have a look at those, give feedback, but also just have a go at doing them at your own house. It's a great way to give back to the community and also learn off the community.
Yeah, great ideas, and sort of that we still need to support those, there's still people whose their whole life is putting this sporting group together or providing training or providing, a skill to other people, and that's happening in a different way, and we need to show our support that they're working really hard to continue that happening.
Yeah, absolutely, and it could even be art or some sort of, some musical aspect of things as well. You're finding a lot more people are trying new instruments for the first time or spending more time on that. Looking at what local providers you have, and if they've posted anything, and just to have that local context is really cool.
So I'd really like to know from you, Jye, is there anything that you found yourself that's helped you with your sense of community, or some things that you've been doing while having to do your social distancing?
I guess for us, through professionally, because we, through all my jobs, we manage a youth hub, and we've had to close that. Looking at different ways of engagement and outreaching to youth on the street has been really beneficial for me to sort of have those discussions in a different way, in a different setting. What's really helped is, and what I've seen is that, those care packages can be quite impactful, but also those check-ins. I think, and also the walks. I think the walks for me, back on a personal level, has been really good, because just having that sense of community. I think just something as simple as having just smiling and waving to someone, that complete stranger, but you stay distant, so you don't need to get to know them, but it's a really good connection, and it's actually quite nice to connect in through that way. For me, I've looked at a lot more blogging with your sites such as, I think it was Medium, Reddit, all those bits and pieces. They're really cool. They're really good. Even though I've been online, I've looked at being less on social media and a bit more on those blogging sites and those learning sites. Connecting in through the group chats has been really good, and kind of just having a bit more of a chat via that way has been handy, but also just hearing in. So with one of the group chats that I'm in with a group of friends, we've started a topic of the day each day, and it can be controversial, or it can be sort of mundane, or different bits and pieces, but it's been a way of us learning a bit more about each other, having a laugh, and different things like that. I've found that really utilising on humour during these times and being a bit more open to having a laugh has really helped me. I can be a bit too serious sometimes, so that's definitely helped me heaps. And also my dog. I've had more time for my dog, so so that's been a win as well.
Yeah, I really like that idea of kind of like almost like portraying a bit of positivity, so you get positivity back at this time when people might be stressed, but a smile or a laugh might really change your perspective or someone else's perspective. Yeah,
and that's definitely not downplaying anyone's emotion and feelings, and if we're sort of giving ourselves that time to really accept what we're feeling as well, that's just as positive as the actual positive speaking itself. So
balancing out that sort of pushing yourself to be positive, and also just recognizing actually it's okay not to be positive because it's pretty stressful right now. And that's the other thing with the connection, is that we're with all our close circles, we may be having these conversations with some people close to us that we've never had before.
and it's okay to not know what to do. It's okay to, I guess, feel emotion, and we're all learning in this together. And I think a really powerful bit about the connection is just accepting that the way that you're engaging or not engaging is okay, because connection doesn't have to mean it happens today. It can mean that you prepare yourself for tomorrow.
Yeah, and connection to like community doesn't mean like, yeah, I have to reach out right now, but also just acknowledging other people are going through this, or I like that idea of just, looking at something around you and know that, this is my community of Darwin, or thinking about people in your family, and could be a reflection almost of what is community.
Yeah, exactly. And we're hearing about different parts of community that we may have never sort of engaged or heard from again. So in some way we're hearing a few more voices now, and now is the best time to start listening.
Yeah, if
and being heard, of course.
Yeah. Working out what is my role in this. Am I feeling good and I have the capacity to listen, or am I needing to try and reach out a little bit to people around me so I feel supported by people around me in my community.
Yeah, and another small way you can connect in with the community that adds up is buying from your local businesses that you may think are struggling, whether it be coffee, a bottle of water, or anything really, a sandwich. That's a great way of connection, because every local business that I've bought something from recently or engaged with, you can just feel that gratitude, and it is a good feeling, and it's really good to give back in those ways as well.
Yeah, I really like this idea. I hadn't thought of it like this before, but that every little thing you do within your community, you can reflect as your connection to community.
Yeah, absolutely. And it can be very small, or it can be seen as this big grand idea that you may have. If you have that big grand idea, it's a great time to connect in, talk to your NGOs or government departments. Great time and community members, if you know any sort of community members with a bit of influence or anything like that, or you just want to get a group of you together virtually or in whatever way you can, to discuss, hey, this is, there are these issues, or we could improve on this or connect better this way. Perfect time.
Yeah, absolutely. So Jye, I have one last question for you, and that is, what's kind of a bit of a takeaway message or few key points for someone maybe feeling a little bit isolated or wanting to connect with their community a bit more at the moment?
Yeah, I think the big one's not to be too harsh on yourself, and first and foremost, and to allow yourself to slow down. And that's not as in sort of just sitting still. It's sort of, I guess, what happens between the ears, what's going on inside your head and your heart, is to allow yourself to feel that. And just allow yourself to slow down, and just know that you're able to contribute towards this positively in your own way. There's hundreds of ways you can. It may not be exactly the same as the person that lives in the next room to you, or next house to you, or in the whole suburb, but you are contributing, and you do matter. It's there's a lot of information out there, particularly on the blogging sites. They seem great. There's a lot of good local information. If you are sort of out remote in NT or in any other of those locations outside of Darwin, the land councils and medical services, a lot of community controlled organisations have a lot of good information. Make use of your group chats, even your local group chats, I guess. And you can have, I'm not talking about sort of the having the whinge sort of chats, but there's a bunch of other sort of forums where you can really, whether you just want to listen in and be a fly on the wall or contribute to, either way, you being healthy is the best way to contribute to all of this.
Yeah, I think that's really, really nice for people just to know that you are a valuable member of this community and you have lots of community connections around, and yeah, you're valued in that. You just need to work out how you feel that in yourself.
Yeah, and not rushing into anything either. And it's when you're ready, and you may not be ready at any stage soon to do anything large or anything like that, but you can do all those little bits and pieces that help yourself and those close to you. And that's the main thing that's important, is your own health and well-being.
Yeah, and I think on that note, we are going to say thank you so much for sharing with us, Jye. I think there's so many ideas that people can start to reflect, is how am I part of my community, whether that's within myself, whether that's my family, whether that's my household, whether that's how I look at the world or give back to Darwin. So thanks so much for joining us.
No worries. Thanks for that. Really appreciate it.
Thanks everyone for improving your wellness, and see you next time.